Here I go, here I go, here I go. Yeah, here I go, here I go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of The Take. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, of course. And in today's episode, we got some big moves in the NFL. Joey Bosa's got a new home. Justin Fields is jetting to New York. And DK Metcalf is heading to Pittsburgh. Plus, we got a clutch 4-point play in the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks game last night. And we got some bold betting picks. Conference championship time is here for college basketball. So we're going to go ahead and give you my picks and all of my thoughts on free agency. So make sure to strap in. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment, hit the notification bell because we have a lot to dive into today. As you can see, sunshine, we're outside behind me. We got the pool in the back. We got a lot going on over here in Florida. But your boy will be moving to Abilene, Texas. An announcement for the pod. I'm going to be going to KTXS 12, which is an ABC and CW affiliate, as a multimedia journalist. So I'm going to be doing live reporting, live anchoring in the studio, making packages, reporting news and sports. So I'll put the link in the description for my new station, which is in Abilene, Texas. It's about 2 hours and 30 minutes outside of Dallas. So I'm actually pretty happy about that because hopefully I get to cover some Dallas Cowboys. And also, we will get to be able to do high school football in Texas. I'm excited about that. That is going to be awesome. I'm very excited. I'm very grateful for the opportunity in Abilene. I can't wait to get started. I start March 24th, which is actually a day before my birthday, so we could be on TV on my birthday. So keep an eye out on that. I'm still going to be dropping pods, of course, but let's go ahead and get into some free agency signings. So the biggest free agency signing is Joey Bosa going to the Buffalo Bills, and they're getting him for 12.9 or 12.5 million, excuse me. And that is honestly a cheap deal because the way Bosa affects the game is just absolutely unmatched. I mean, he had 17 run stops last year, which was 19th in the NFL. And we know he can get to the quarterback when he's healthy. He hasn't been as healthy the last couple years. He hasn't played a full season since he had 10.5 sacks in 2021. So I would like to see Joey Bosa be healthy, but we know what he can do. And the crazy part about this is that the Chargers cut him, which I don't know why you would cut a player of Bosa's caliber. And what's crazy to me is Khalil Mack is making more money than Joey Bosa. I think Bosa is better, in my opinion. I mean, he can get triple teamed, bounce around the A-gap, and get a sack. I mean, that is the type of guy we're talking about here. And he goes to the Bills, where they almost won this. They almost won the AFC. They almost made it to the Super Bowl. You get a game wrecker like Joey Bosa on that Bills defense, that is a great pickup. Man's a beast. He's like 6'4", 280 pounds. I mean, this guy's a Frank train. He's a Frank train. And I honestly, if Bosa stays healthy, I mean, he's going to help this Bills defense. I mean, they lost Von Miller, and then they just got an upgrade. So they really didn't lose a whole lot. And they just retained DeMar Hamlin as well. So the Bills have some pieces to really make a run next year. And I'm excited to see what Joey Bosa can do. I'm grading that signing an A+, by far, not even close. And just an FYI, guys, I am a little under the weather, so if my voice sounds a little weird, that's why. I've been battling this little throat thing that's been going on, but I don't know what to think of it now. Is Justin Fields going to the New York Jets? Now, we know what Justin Fields is. He's a young quarterback, 26 years old. He has a lot of upside. He played well when he was on the Steelers last year. He went 4-2 as a starter. Not bad. Was showing he can read a defense. Was showing he wasn't just going to take off and run when his first read wasn't there. So I think he's definitely progressed. I just don't know how the Jets help him because, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was still getting sacked last year. I mean, he got sacked like 41 times last year. And the Jets, they have a lot of issues. And they don't really have a lot of receivers because the Jets, they're kicking Allen Lazard to the curb, it seems like. And the only guy they have is Garrett Wilson. And he doesn't really have a run game. You would think Breece Hall would be able to help him, but the Jets got to draft somebody. I mean, maybe McMillan, that kid out of Arizona, could be a good draft pick for the New York Jets. I mean, they're high enough to get him, but they are projected to get an offensive lineman. So we'll see what the Jets do in the draft, but getting Justin Fields for a $40 million contract, guaranteeing him $30 million, I mean, I think that's too much if you ask me for a player like that. I mean, he hasn't won a lot of games. When he was in Chicago, he struggled. Now, I understand he had a bad line there, but the Jets don't really have a great offensive line either. I mean, they just lost Tyron Smith, who's a very good but old tackle. So I think it's going to be very interesting because is he a bridge quarterback so they can have Jordan Travis develop behind him, which wouldn't be a bad idea for the Jets? But he has no one to throw to. He has no one to throw to. They just lost Devonta Adams, which imagine Justin Fields and Devonta Adams on the same team. I think the Jets are just trying to not be mediocre because they're obviously not a rebuilding team because they have a lot of talent, but they obviously are far away from a Super Bowl. I mean, they're not close. So I don't know. I mean, Justin Fields hasn't thrown for 20 passing touchdowns and he hasn't thrown for 3,000 yards. So there's still a lot of question marks. And how long can this upside last in Justin Fields? I don't know. I don't know how you can sit here and tell me upside on this guy. Now, he has gotten better, and I'm surprised the Steelers moved from him. I really am, because I thought the Steelers traded for him because they wanted a future past Russell Wilson. Now the Steelers don't have a quarterback. They're still looking for somebody. And that'll bring us to our next free agency topic, which is DK Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers. And former Pittsburgh Steeler, Hall of Famer, two-time Super Bowl champion, Big Ben Roethlisberger, had something to say with the dynamic duo of George Pickens and DK Metcalf. So let's take a listen.
Coach T, are you kidding me? DK Metcalf on one side, GP on the other, Muth work in the middle, and I might need to throw my hat in the ring. If you're looking for a guy, I might still have a couple throws in.
He said, I got a couple throws in me, which, Big Ben, I don't think you have a couple throws and you left. I mean, the last season you played in the NFL, you were on your last legs. But throwing a DK would make it easier. Throwing a George Pickens would make it easier. I mean, there's no doubt that this Steelers team is good. Everything has fallen into line. Everything. Now, they did just lose Najee Harris to the Chargers, but they do have Jaylen Warren, who's been having larger roles the last couple of years. So I think he can come in and be a bell cow. So I'm not sure if that's a huge loss, but the Steelers got to figure out who's going to be this quarterback, because there's not many left. There's not many left. Aaron Rodgers is the only quarterback I could see make the Steelers a true Super Bowl contender. Because if you're going to sign DK Metcalf, give him a 5-year extension, you're going to have to draft somebody, and you're going to have somebody in place to contend while you develop your young quarterback. And I think, and I've been hearing people say Jackson Dart would be a good option for the Steelers. I agree. I think Jackson Dart has elite accuracy. He has a great arm. That is a guy you can develop. And he is polished. He had a great combine. So I'm looking at that guy right there and saying that is a very undervalued player in this upcoming draft. But the Steelers have to make a decision. And I thought the Steelers didn't want Aaron Rodgers. Now I keep hearing reports that they're close to getting a deal done, or they're talking about getting a deal done. Just make a decision. Just make a decision already. I mean, we know Aaron Rodgers only has 2 options, the Giants or the Steelers. And I'm checking my phone because I want to make sure that nothing has happened with Aaron Rodgers, and it hasn't. But Aaron Rodgers, this is the last opportunity he has, and you know that he wants to win a Super Bowl, and you have the receiving core to do it. You have it. It's there. It's not like Aaron Rodgers was bad. The Jets just couldn't put it together last year. And with DK Metcalf, he is a ginormous human being. He is great at faking people out when he's running routes. He's got that head movement that just dekes out defensive backs like I've never seen. I mean, he's very undervalued when it comes to that. So I would like to see an elite quarterback with him. Because if you don't pair an elite quarterback with these 2 receivers, I feel like you're kind of wasting the talent that the Steelers team has, because they have a good defense, they have a good offensive line, they have good receivers, and they do have a good running back. So they have all the pieces, and there's no way that you can bring Russell Wilson back, because there's been reports about Russell Wilson that have been coming out about him being, whispers about pushing DK out of Seattle. I don't know if you would want a guy like that. And he tried to get Pete Carroll and the general manager in Seattle fired when he was there before he left for Denver. So I don't know. I would not want to see Russell Wilson play with DK Metcalf again, because I just don't think Russell Wilson was that good last year. I mean, there were arguments to be made that Justin Fields could have started over Russell Wilson last year. I mean, Justin Fields wasn't all that bad. I mean, the Steelers were atrocious in the passing attack. I mean, they were 27th in passing offense. They need to get some explosion, because they did not have that last year. And bringing back Russell Wilson does not make this team better, and it does not utilize the talent that you have. Plain and simple. Now let's go to this week's play of the week, okay? We have an exciting play of the week for you guys. It took place last night, Milwaukee Bucks versus Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton, he made some spectacular plays last night, including this and one 3-pointer that I want you guys to take in this moment. So here it is.
Pacers down 3. Halliburton's got the ball. Halliburton rises up. And there's the whistle. Oh my goodness. Tyrese Halliburton hits a 3 and is fouled.
You have got to be kidding me. This is almost like the spread option in football. They had 4 offensive players in the backcourt. And Tyrese Halliburton coming off the screen here and right in the grill of Giannis and right in front of Damian Lillard, who's on the bench right now, with a chance for a 4-point play. You don't understand the degree of difficulty on this shot. He is going left, Brian, and had to shoot back right.
With Giannis on him.
After review, it's been deemed the foul on Giannis has been upheld as a defensive foul for not allowing the offensive player to land safely. The goal will be scored. Halliburton will shoot one. The game clock will be reset to 3.4. They will be charged a timeout, and we will shoot one.
Wow, 3.4. So now they put even more time back on. So at least they were able to get more time on the clock. But now the game is tied. But with Halliburton headed to the free throw line.
Bucks no timeouts, by the way.
But again, this is something you practice just about every single day. They're called home run plays here. So they absolutely, from that long intermission right there with them going over plays, they have a play already drawn up. And there's a lot of time left. But I tell you what, be careful with a silly foul.
To give the Pacers the lead, Halliburton does. A 4-point trip down the floor. Giannis puts it in. Bucks go quick. Giannis head of seam. Giannis got to put it up. This is for the win. And it's short. And the Pacers hang on to win it as Halliburton delivers an improbable 4-point play.
I know that was a pretty long play. That was pretty spectacular. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, he finished with 14 points, 10 assists, doing what he does, 5 of 12 from the field, 2 of 6 from three-point range, 22-footer over Giannis, gets fouled. I mean, the degree of difficulty on that shot, like Reggie Miller said, was unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. And talk about this Pacers team. I mean, they're 5th in the West. They're 36-28. They're creeping up on the radar in the Eastern Conference. I think there's a lot of wiggle room in the Eastern Conference. And this is a Pacers team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They had a lot of success. And Tyrese Halliburton was the head of that success. And he's had an up and down season, but they're clicking at the right time. And I think that it's just very encouraging to see Halliburton playing this well. And he's showing right now that he is a top 10 point guard. It's not even close. It's not even close. His playmaking ability is really good. He shoots the ball very well. He's inconsistent at times with that, but when he does shoot the lights out, he's hard to guard. And he's very shifty. He's a very quick player. And he's a good defender. So he does a lot of things for this Pacers team. That's this week's play of the week. And next, Sam Darnold. He is a Seattle Seahawk. He signed a 3-year, $110 million deal. 55 of it is guaranteed. That's a lot of money for a guy who had one good season. And that one good season was great. I mean, don't get me wrong. He won 15 games. He threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns. Made his first Pro Bowl career season from Sam Darnold. But Seattle didn't have a great offensive line last year. And you're putting Sam Darnold on a team with a bad offensive line. I don't think that's good. And Richard Sherman agrees with that. I mean, he said it is a lateral move from Geno Smith, which is interesting to think about because Geno Smith has been more consistent than Sam Darnold in the last couple years. Geno Smith has more mobility. Like, I'm surprised that the Seahawks gave him this amount of money, but I'm also surprised the Vikings didn't give him another shot. I mean, who does Sam Darnold have to throw the ball to in Seattle? I mean, I would much rather go to Minnesota than Seattle because at least Minnesota has receivers. In Seattle, they lost Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and they have Jackson Smith and Jigba there. They are going to have to draft a rookie. And I've heard Mbuka is a good option because Smith and Jigba and him played together at Ohio State. So that could be a great pairing. And they don't have a reliable enough run game, in my opinion. I mean, Kenneth Walker is good. Don't get me wrong. But it feels like he gets hurt every single season. I mean, he was on my fantasy team last year, and he got hurt right when I traded him. I was like, thank goodness I traded him. But I don't know. I'm not sure about this move because the NFC West is a tough division. Tough division. And I'm just not seeing the vision here with that. I'm just not. I'm not seeing Sam Darnold being a game changer for the Seattle Seahawks. And I don't know if he's better than Geno Smith. I've seen 1 year of Sam Darnold. I've seen 3 solid years of Geno Smith. Geno Smith is coming off a year where he won 10 games. 10. And we'll go ahead and get into that move because I was going to jumble around a little bit. But since I'm talking about Geno Smith, let's stay on Geno Smith. He's on the Las Vegas Raiders. No new contract. He's going to be making his $31 million this year. But he has got some potential on this Las Vegas team. If they get a running back, which according to Tankathon, they're projected to get Ashton Genty at 6, which may not be a bad move for the Las Vegas Raiders. They need a running back. They don't have receivers like that. Jacoby Myers is probably their best receiver outside of Brock Bowers, that is a weapon that Geno Smith can utilize. I mean, Brock Bowers broke rookie records for receptions and receiving yards by a tight end last year. He was a first-team All-Pro as a rookie. He was amazing last year. And you put Geno Smith there with Pete Carroll, I mean, that is a good move for the Raiders, in my opinion. I know people probably don't see that now, but I think the Raiders are not a bad football team after this draft. I think the Raiders are going to have a good team after this NFL draft. I think a lot of these moves that I'm talking about as well depend on how these teams do in the draft, because you're going to get some kind of rookie that's going to be a game changer in this draft. This draft is deep when it comes to linebackers, offensive linemen, running backs especially. I've never seen a draft class as good at the running back position. It is loaded when it comes to those positions. Pass rushers as well. There's a lot of good players in those positions. If the Raiders can draft well, they have Tom Brady at the helm. That could be a good match. And let's say the Raiders get in a position to draft a quarterback. They could groom somebody behind Geno Smith. That is a perfect player to have grooming behind him. Perfect. You got to have somebody. I think it's a game changer. And Geno Smith is efficient. He completed 70% of his passes last year. People think Geno Smith is bad. I don't know where. I'm not sure because his numbers say otherwise. And then the Raiders still kept Max Crosby after all the trade talks. They signed him to a $106 million deal for the next 3 years. That is a guy you had to lock up, and they did. And I like the Geno Smith move just because Pete Carroll's there. The hire makes sense if you're going to try to get somebody who literally played for Pete Carroll. And Geno Smith had his best season of his career when Pete Carroll was the head coach in Seattle. So I like this move, believe it or not. It's actually one of my favorite moves of free agency, believe it or not. Geno Smith, I really didn't think that at first, but it's definitely been one of my favorites. He can dissect a defense pretty well, and he has good mobility. He can move outside the pocket. He does a lot of good things for this team, I think. A lot of good things. And the next thing, since we're kind of talking about Geno Smith, I was talking about Sam Darnold and how the NFC West is a tough division. And it is tough. The Rams are a top 3 team in the NFC next year. Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, they did just release Cooper Kupp. They didn't trade for him. But they just got Devontae Adams. You had Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, This receiving core is nice. And the Rams, believe it or not, I think are going to make a push for an NFC title game and possibly the Super Bowl. Their defense is elite. They proved that in the playoffs last year. They had over 16 sacks in 2 games in the playoffs last year. 2 games. And they almost beat the Eagles. They were the team. They came the closest out of any team in the playoffs last year to beat the Eagles. And then you add Devontae Adams. Matthew Stafford is still in his prime. He can still sling the football. Devontae Adams on this team is unbelievable. I know he's had a weird couple of years in Vegas and with the Jets, but you got to remember something. Those were bad situations. They also weren't, he really didn't have great coaching around him. And you get a guy like Sean McVay, who is an offensive genius, there's no way that he's not going to find some way, somehow, for Devontae Adams to be effective. That is going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, Devontae Adams is still good. He's still good. And the Rams were 10th in passing offense last year. They were a good team. I like the Rams a lot. I think they're honestly a lock to win the NFC West next year. I really think they are. Because I don't think San Francisco is good because they lost Dre Greenlaw and they lost Deebo Samuel. So, and they can't stay healthy. McCaffrey has been injury prone, even though he had that healthy season 2 years ago. Brandon Ayuk, he's coming off an ACL injury. Excuse me. I don't think they're going to be as good. I don't. And I think the Niners are not going to be able to, they're not going to be as good. And the Cardinals got better too. They got Josh Sweat. They needed a pass rusher and they got him. He was just on the Eagles. He just won a Super Bowl. That is a player the Cardinals needed desperately. And they still have talent. They still have Kyler Murray. They have James Conner, Trey Benson, Marvin Harrison. They have players. Trey McBride, who him and Brock Bowers are 2 of the best tight ends in football. You can make an argument for one of those guys to be the best tight end in football. Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, those 2 guys are absolutely phenomenal. Trey McBride was maybe not a touchdown machine last year, but he still gets open and he still makes plays. He is very good. Very good. That NFC West is dangerous. And that's why I said when talking about Sam Darnold, how is he going to do against pass rushers like this? Against the Rams pass rush. Sam Darnold is going to have to play the Rams pass rush twice a year now. And we saw how he did in the wild card round against the Rams. I'm not seeing the Seahawks being good with Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's wonderful season was because of the coaching. And he's no longer going to have Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. He does not have a team like that. He does not. And the Seattle doesn't even have a decent tight end. Noah Fant. They better do something in the draft because right now I'm not seeing it with Sam Darnold in Seattle. And the Rams, they've got a lot better. I'm liking the Rams right now. And more receiver action. DeAndre Hopkins signs a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'm going to say this as nice as possible. How much better can the Ravens get adding DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, they have came up short time and time again. Lamar Jackson, gets Derrick Henry, has no excuses. Now he gets DeAndre Hopkins, no excuses. You keep your receiving core intact. There are things that you have to mention. With this receiving core, there are seriously no excuses. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Deontay Johnson, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and now you add DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I know he's getting older. He's pushing 33 years old, but he is still a good player. He is really good in the red zone. And like the Ravens needed improvement on offense because they were already the number one offense in the NFL last year. There's no excuses. If the Ravens can't get it done this year, Lamar Jackson is not that guy. He's not. Lamar Jackson has to prove this year he can win the Super Bowl. He has to be able to win a Super Bowl this year, or there's going to be more doubters. Because there are already a lot of them. A lot. And I was backing you up this year, Lamar, and trying to say you were better than Joe Burrow going into the playoffs. And I was mistaken with that. If Joe Burrow was in that situation in Buffalo, he wouldn't have dropped the ball. He wouldn't have thrown interceptions. He would have taken care of the ball. And we know what he can do in the regular season. But we need to see it. And there's no excuses when you have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. No excuse. I mean, he was really good on the Chiefs last year. Outside of him dropping that wide open ball in the Super Bowl, he was pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. And now that we got that out of the way, let's get into JB's picks, courtesy of Hard Rock Bet, the only betting app you can actually use in the state of Florida. Now, since I'm moving to Texas, the odds machine is probably going to change because I can't pull my odds from Hard Rock when I'm in Texas. So, this might be... no, it won't be the last time because I'll make sure to do a March Madness pod after Selection Sunday. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Also, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you do not miss out on that video because I'm trying to think of what to do. I have a surprise for the bracket this year. We are going to have some fun when it comes to the brackets. We are going to have some fun. Okay? Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell and like the video so you want another one. Okay? Let's keep it up. Let's keep it going, guys. I appreciate the support. Really do. And I'm going to appreciate the support when I move to Texas because I know you guys are going to be keeping up. But my picks, I got 3 picks. And it's all conference tournament related men's college basketball. My first pick is plus 425 for Alabama to win the SEC. Now they beat Auburn on a game winner, hit the first ever game winner against the AP number 1 team in SEC history. That was cold. Floater, teardrop, bam. Overtime, what a great game that was. They have experience. They went to a Final Four last year. They also have Grant Nelson, who's a very good player. And they also lead the nation in points per game and rebounds per game. I mean, they're a physical team, and they've been hot. They have beaten a lot of good teams. I like Alabama to win the SEC. My next pick is plus 1,100 for BYU to win the Big 12. Now, I know you guys are probably going, whoa, BYU? Yes. They're on an 8-game win streak. They beat Iowa State in 2 overtimes last week. 2. They were amazing. Their guard play is really good. They also have good bigs that rebound and are physical. And this BYU team, they can do a lot of different things. And a guard that really stood out to me was Dalen Hall. That guy controlled the game. Controlled the game against Iowa State. And Iowa State has talent. They have talent. They are a really good team. And the Big 12 is good too. But BYU has been hot. In March, you need to be hot. And that is why I think they're going to win. They weren't even in the top 25 until the end of the season. Now they're surging up the ranks. And I think they're going to figure it out. And my last pick is minus 325 for Duke to win the ACC. This is the best team in the country. And they have the National Player of the Year in Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg will be the fourth freshman to win a National Player of the Year. The three before him were Kevin Durant in 2007, Anthony Davis in 2012, and Zion Williamson in 2019. Cooper Flagg, he's putting up insane numbers. He leads Duke in every statistical category. Points per game, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. He has been amazing. He is a 6'10" guard. I've never seen anything like him. Never. He dominates the game. He is a great passer. He is physical. He does things to win. This is a freshman I have never seen. I've never seen a freshman like him. And Duke is in the AP poll #1 spot for the first time since 2021. I mean, there's no way that this Duke team doesn't win. They're also first in point differential this year at plus 22. And they have other talent. They have Tyrese Proctor. They have Con Knippel. They have a lot of talent. And I think this Duke team is going to win the national championship as well. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, there was a stat. There was a stat in a first half of a game this year where 39 out of 40 points were assisted by a freshman. That is absolutely mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. There's no reason they don't win the ACC. And they're the favorites for a reason. But seriously, guys, thank you for listening to today's episode of The Take. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, like this video, also comment, and also hit the notification bell so you do not miss out on any more videos. We had some big signings, clutch plays, and we had some bets, some picks. Make sure to lock those in. Drop your thoughts on social media. Drop your thoughts on Twitter, X. Do your thing when it comes to that. But seriously, guys, I appreciate the support. We're at 800 subscribers. My birthday's coming up in a couple weeks. I have a new job. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Broadway paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put my